What's going on? MK here and welcome to this video. Today I'm going to show you how to develop a lean athletic physique as quickly as humanly possible by applying 4 simple training and nutrition principles. Now, first off, I want to start off by saying that if you've tried to develop a lean athletic physique in the past, if you've tried different diets or workouts and you just weren't able to achieve the desired outcome and develop that physique, then I want you to know that it's not your fault. In the fitness industry, there's so much misinformation floating around in the internet. It's just crazy. Like, let's face it, right now, the fitness industry is like 90% influencers giving out bad advice, people on steroids claiming that they're natural and saying that they did it with some weird ass diet or with some bogus supplement, and they're just lying to you to make money. And quite frankly, I've been doing this for 10 years. In the beginning I fell for some of that crap myself, and so I definitely feel for you, and that's why I decided to shoot this video to basically share with you some science-backed information that actually works. Also, if you've tried different diets and training methods and you're just worried that the problem is in your genetics or in your metabolism or whatever, then I want to put those fears to rest. They do play a role, but they're not the determining factor of whether or not you're going to be able to develop the physique that you want. The determining factor is basically, are you following the scientific principles of proper training and nutrition or not, and are you doing it consistently or not? So in this video you're gonna learn exactly what those are and how to apply them in your own life so that you can finally achieve that physique that you want. I know you have a certain vision of how you want to look. Right from day one when I started working out, I knew exactly what I wanted my body to look like, and I was super excited about that, and we're gonna achieve that right now. You're gonna learn exactly what to do with your training, exactly what to do with your nutrition in order to be on the right way, on the route to getting to that place that you want to be with your physique. Now, if you're a beginner, what this is going to do for you is it's going to tell you exactly what you need to focus on in order to bypass all the BS marketing in the fitness industry, all the supplements and weird ass diets, and it's going to set you up for quick success because you won't be losing time testing workouts and diets and really not knowing what the hell you're doing and why it's not getting you results. Instead you're gonna basically apply the scientific principles of training and nutrition in order to start seeing results immediately and be on your way to that physique that you want. And if you're more advanced, if you're intermediate, that has some basically some experience with training and nutrition, then what you're gonna get out of it is you're gonna learn what you need in order to finally break through those plateaus that you've been having. If you've been feeling stuck and like you have some results but you want to go to the next level, this is the stuff that's really gonna answer the question, why am I stuck, why am I not making progress, and what can I do about it in order to start making progress. So you're gonna learn exactly what to do in this video. Also, I want to say, I want to give out a warning basically. Like, this isn't one of those BS videos where I tell you just cut out sugar and you're gonna get ripped, or just stop eating carbs and you're gonna get ripped. No, those are that's a scam, that's just a gimmick. That doesn't work, guys. We're gonna be covering real scientific principles of training and nutrition. What this means is that we're gonna dive just a bit deeper into what actually how these processes work in the human body, how muscle growth works, how fat loss works, and how you can achieve the physique you want. And so inherently this means we're gonna dive a bit deeper, and all of this means is basically, if you have the attention span of a goldfish, then this isn't gonna work out, because you're gonna have to listen to what I say and basically implement. That being said, if you listen, it's not really that complex, and I'm really not gonna go too scientific on you. I'm not gonna use some super advanced fitness jargon. So you are, if you pay close attention, you're gonna understand everything that I'm gonna share with you in this video today, and you're gonna be able to apply it and see, start seeing results by applying it. So don't worry about that. As long as you pay attention, you're gonna know exactly what to do, and you're gonna start getting those results that you want. Anyway, my goal for this video is to show you and for you to understand that the only way for you to truly develop a lean athletic physique that you can be proud of is through the application of the principles of proper training and nutrition, and basically the principle-based training and nutrition approach that I'll be sharing with you in this video. But first, before we go into the deep, as you could say, who am I to make such a claim, and why should you pay close attention to what I'm about to share with you in this video? Well, as I said already, I've been in the fitness industry for over 10 years now, and I've been a certified coach working with private clients for over 3 years now. I'm also a professional male model. So what all of this should tell you is that I have to look good, I must look good, I must know the ins and outs of training and nutrition, because otherwise I'm out of a job. It's basically a necessity for me to know this stuff in and out. But while I might be in a lean athletic shape that I'm pretty happy with right now, things weren't always like this. In fact, back in the day before I got into fitness, I had the notorious skinny fat body type, which basically means that I sort of looked skinny with a shirt on because I didn't have much muscle, but at the same time I had a fat covering my abs, so I didn't have abs either, and it's a very meh look. And so back in the day, I was very low on self-esteem, I was very low on confidence. This is during my teenage years, you know, it's a weird time anyway, and my physique didn't help that at all. So I was pretty shy, I was pretty introverted, I was the shy introverted kid in class, didn't have many friends, didn't help with girls either. So you can imagine my life was pretty like boring and lonely before I got into like fitness, and as well as self-development and working on myself in other areas of my life as well. But yeah, you get the picture, so enough with the sob story. Anyway, one day after school, I went to a nearby bookstore to buy some stuff for school, and when I got inside, actually a book grabbed my attention. On the cover was this dude with an amazing physique. He was a fitness model, he was chiseled, he was lean, athletic, muscular, he just looked perfect. And this was actually a training manual, a bodyweight training manual by Men's Health, and this guy was a cover model. And I was like, I would kill to have this guy's physique. And back then, I guess thinking about it now, I really wanted that physique because I thought it would make me fit in, it would give me the confidence to sort of express myself, put myself out there, make more friends, meet girls, and so on. And so it got me really excited because it said that if you do the exercises, of course, you would look like this guy on the cover of the book. And so that got me super excited. I was like 14, 15 at that time, and so I bought that book. And I started doing the exercises, and sometime later my brother, my older brother, took me to the gym with him, showed me around, and I started working out. I found some workouts online, I started reading about nutrition, and that's really how it started for me in fitness. I started it was basically this guy's physique inspired me. Then my brother took me under his wing, took me to the gym, and I started devouring anything online that I found about training, that I found about nutrition, about recovery, and so on. And I really got into this whole fitness thing. And in the first few months, I really saw some pretty cool results. Like I started building a bit of muscle, I started losing a bit of fat. We call this body recomposition, where you build muscle and lose fat at the same time. Usually newbies do that in the beginning, and it was really fun. It was something new, a new hobby. It was really exciting, but that honeymoon period lasted, of course, a few months. But after that, what happened was, as most of you intermediates out there know, After that period of newbie gains, as we call them, where you're so far from your genetic potential that basically you can do the dumbest training program and you would still make progress, but after a while you adapt to that and then those results stop coming. And so what happened was I got stuck. Basically I hit my first plateau, and that's usually the point where most guys end up at. Like, they don't know what they're doing, but they're just far from their genetic potential. So what happens is they get some results, but sooner or later it becomes evident just how little they know about training and nutrition when they hit their first plateau, and they are just stuck there looking the same year after year. And that's exactly what happened to me. I started trying different training programs, different program hopping. I started trying different diets, the keto diet, the Mediterranean diet, and whatever, but nothing seemed to work. I just couldn't make it work. I just couldn't bust through this plateau and onto the next level where I actually wanted to be. Like, I had a bit of results, but it definitely wasn't the physique that I wanted to end up with, you know. And that got me very frustrated, because I was seeing how I was putting in work. I was going to the gym regularly, I was eating right, or at least I thought I was, and but I saw my friends and they were putting less work, but they were like actually getting better results, and that is frustrating, man. That is very frustrating. I basically stayed in the same spot physique wise for like 3 years, and it was like soul crushing 3 years for me, man. Now, near the end of that 3-year stagnation period, I was actually already in my second year of university. I was actually going to start my second year of university, and I got an opportunity from my university to go to another university in Portugal, Europe, and study there on exchange for a year. And so I took that opportunity because I wanted to shake things up, like meet some new people, discover a new culture, travel around, and so on. And so when I got to Portugal, one of the first things I did was actually search for like a gym where I could work out, because I didn't want to give up. I'm just not the type of person that gives up, even though I wasn't seeing any results from my efforts. And so I found, I got the contacts of this coach, who was actually the coach of the Olympic weightlifting team with the Faculty of Sports Science at my university. And I basically met up with him, we talked a bit, he saw how much I wanted to improve, and so he basically took me under his wing, and he designed a training program and a nutrition plan for me, and I started working with him, started getting coached by him, and that lasted for basically my stay in Portugal for the next 10 months. And during that process of training alongside his other athletes who were professional athletes, they did Olympic weightlifting while I did more bodybuilding type training. It was amazing to see like how much just their determination, their focus, their knowledge, and just taking all of that like a sponge. It was just an amazing 10 months to be there and have that opportunity and be coached by this great coach who had like over 16 years of experience as a coach and so on. It was amazing. And really at the end of those 10 months, I had developed a pretty decent physique. I was pretty happy with it, really happy with it actually, very proud. Now what I didn't know then was that my results were all due to my unknowing application of the training and nutrition principles that I'm going to be sharing with you in a second. Anyway, when I got back to my hometown after my stay in Portugal, what happened was amazing. Like, everybody noticed my transformation. Everybody was asking me, how did you do it? What did you do? How do you work out? How do you eat? And so on. All my friends were like interested in that. They noticed my physique. Like, even girls on the street started eyeing me, which was very weird to me, very new. Eventually some photographers and modeling agencies started approaching me, and that's how I got my first modeling gigs as well. But the most important thing, the most fulfilling thing was that I had finally developed some confidence, some self-esteem. I finally had the confidence to put myself out there, to like express myself more openly, and to like just feel comfortable in my own skin. And that was like really the best part of all of this. Like when you commit to this, when you commit to developing a better physique, and that means committing the time to learn about training and about nutrition, to commit the time to go to the gym, to put in the work, you develop like not only your physique, but like other qualities like hard work, like dedication, and in that process you develop your confidence in yourself. And like with confidence, life is a lot better. Like your people treat you differently, they treat you better, you treat yourself better, you start getting more opportunities, and you just feel better day to day about yourself, and your days are just better. That's why I'm so passionate about people developing their physiques, because in that process they actually develop their character as well. And anyway, I loved what this process of transformation did for me, for my self-esteem, for my life and lifestyle, and so I wanted to share that with more people, get deeper into fitness and nutrition and so on. Instead of getting my information from influencers and whatnot on Instagram, I started studying like scientific papers, books written by like actual exercise scientists and people who actually have a scientific basis behind what they're saying, like people like Dr. Mike Israetel, people like Dr. John Berardi and their respective teams. And I actually got certified as a fitness coach and started working with clients of my own. Now, in that process of learning and devouring information from different reputable sources is how principle-based training and nutrition basically got shaped up. So I don't take any credit for like discovering these principles or whatever. These are like well documented in the scientific papers and different publications of these people that I mentioned. So all credit goes to them. What I did was just basically assemble them and in a more systematic way. Now, when it comes to you, you're probably not looking to get into modeling or becoming a fitness coach, but principle-based training and nutrition still applies to what you're trying to do, which is develop a lean, athletic physique, basically, that you can be proud of. And how people go about doing this, the traditional way, is that they go on Instagram, they see this ripped influencer who might or might not be on steroids and gives out just usually crap information, and they start doing their workouts, they buy their bogus supplements, and they get nowhere. They have no idea why or why not the thing that they're doing is working or is not working, and so they can't really see where they're making mistakes and how to fix them in order to actually see progress. On the contrary, with principle-based training and nutrition, what you can do is clearly see why you're doing what you're doing, and if you're not seeing results, you can clearly see what to change in order to start seeing results. And that is why it is the only way to actually achieve real sustainable results, and results that are as quickly as humanly possible. So yeah, principle-based training and nutrition is the approach that I use for my own programming, for my own training and nutrition plans, and it's the approach I use for my clients and training them as well. So I guess I'll pop up my client Katwamba from the United Kingdom and what he was able to achieve when working with me. He came to me he had watched different videos on YouTube but didn't know exactly how to approach his own transformation. We worked together, we're still working together actually, and he's just been able to like radically transform his physique for the better. And I believe that you can do that too. So enough of my backstory and so on. Let's go, now that we know why these principles are so important, let's go into how to apply them and what they actually are. Now, within principle-based training and nutrition, there are 11 or so principles of proper training and nutrition. and whole books have been written about these principles. You can go very deep into them. The science behind them is quite advanced, but obviously in this video we cannot go into all of them. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to focus on the 4 principles of proper training and nutrition that most people get wrong, that most people screw up, and that are basically what is stopping most people from developing the lean athletic physique that they want. So since our goal here is to develop a lean athletic physique, it's important to define what that is and how to actually achieve it. Now, the way to get the lean athletic look is, first off, you need to have a decent amount of muscle mass, and second off, you need to have a low enough body fat percentage so that that muscle can pop from underneath that layer of fat and look sort of aesthetic. You know, we call that having good muscle definition. So plain and simple, we're looking to build muscle and to lose body fat, and usually we do that in successive phases. Now, usually when we're looking to build muscle, we call that a bulking phase, and when we're looking to cut out fat, we call that a cutting phase. And then we have this phase called body recomposition, which basically means we stay at the same weight, but we burn fat and build muscle at the same time. And that is possible for a few categories of people, including newbies, as well as people who haven't been working out optimally up until this point and are still far from their genetic potential. So basically, the first thing we need to do is determine whether we're gonna cut or bulk. So if you're very skinny, you don't have a lot of muscle or body fat, then you need to bulk up, you need to gain weight, and that should be your focus. If you're basically overweight and you're like above 15-20% body fat, then what you need to do is go on a cut and focus on losing weight. Now, here's where the first principle that we're gonna cover comes into play. So the first principle is called the principle of energy balance, and this one is more popular than the other ones, but most people really misunderstand it. So pay close attention so that you know exactly what it means and how to apply it in order to get the results that you're after. So basically, this principle is based on the first law of thermodynamics, which simply states that energy cannot be created nor destroyed, it can only be transformed from one form into another. This simply means that energy cannot vanish into nothingness. Now think about the human body. What do? We need energy to function, and we get that energy, we consume energy in the form of food and drinks, and we expend energy in the form of our metabolism and our physical activity. So think about that. If we consume more energy than we burn off on average, then what's going to happen? That energy cannot disappear, so we're going to store it, and that's how weight gain happens. And so the principle of energy balance simply states that if we consume more energy than we burn on average, we gain weight. If we consume as much energy as we burn on average, that means we are going to maintain our current body weight. And if we basically burn more calories or energy than we consume on average, then we're gonna lose weight. Now notice that I say weight and not fat or muscle. We say weight because it depends on whether you're training and whether you're doing a couple of different things, like consuming enough protein. So for example, if you consume more calories than you burn on average, that means you're gonna gain weight. But if you don't work out and you don't eat enough protein, then that weight is gonna be body fat, not muscle. On the other hand, if you do train optimally and if you do consume enough protein, then a lot of that weight is actually gonna be muscle. It's very important to understand that training and nutrition work together. They're not separate things, they work together. And what pisses me off is this notion of abs are made in the kitchen or this or that. They're both important, they're two sides of the same coin. Training and nutrition work together, so remember that. So anyway, if you're looking to do body recomposition, if you're in one of those categories that I mentioned earlier that can do that, then you're looking at eating at maintenance, or we call that eating an isocaloric diet. If you're looking to bulk up, to build muscle, to gain weight, then you're gonna eat a hypercaloric diet, meaning you're gonna eat at a caloric surplus, eating more calories than you burn on average. And if you're gonna be looking to cut, to lose weight, then you're gonna eat a hypocaloric diet, meaning you're gonna eat at a caloric deficit. You're gonna eat less calories than you burn on average. Now, how big of a calorie deficit or surplus should you be eating at? I would say it's usually between 8 and 15%, but again, it depends on the individual and the individual's goals and the individual's situation. And by the way, this is a principle that we're not going to talk much about in this video, but it's called the principle of individualization, because we're all individuals, we all have our little differences, and that means that we need an individualized approach to our training and nutrition. But anyway, this is the principle of energy balance that we just covered, and it's basically what 99% of newbies and even a lot of intermediates in fitness screw up, and it's the reason why they ultimately don't manage to develop the physique that they're looking for, or one of the biggest reasons at least. And so now that you know it, all you need to do is basically know how many calories you need to be eating. You can use a MyFitnessPal or whatever to track your calories. It takes just 10 minutes a day, or you can get a coach to actually coach you through your nutrition, develop a meal plan for you, and so on, and not have to worry about it yourself. Now, the other thing that people screw up with their diet and their nutrition, and that's related to the next principle that we're gonna talk about, is basically the principle of hunger and fullness management. Like, a lot of people know that they need to be eating less in order to lose weight, but they're just too hungry to do it. And a lot of people know that they need to be eating more in order to build muscle, gain weight, but they're just too full and they can't get enough calories. They just feel too full. And that is because they don't know how to apply the principle of hunger and fullness management. Basically, this principle of hunger and fullness management helps us pick the right foods and eat in the right way in order to either like not feel too full or not feel that much hunger, in order to be able to actually hit our calories or our calorie targets, and to actually abide by the principle of energy balance that we discussed earlier. Now, there are four main ways in which we can manage our hunger and fullness. The first one is by making sure that we're playing to the way that our hunger and satiety hormones work. So we have two main hunger and satiety hormones. The main hunger hormone is called ghrelin. The main satiety hormone or fullness hormone is called leptin. And these hormones are very interesting in the way that they work, because what most people don't know is that they take about 20 minutes from the beginning of our meal to start working fully. So what this means is that if I'm trying to lose weight but I eat a huge meal in 10 minutes, then my hunger and satiety hormones won't have had the time to actually adjust and tell me to get off the kitchen table and stop eating, basically. And on the other hand, if I take too long to eat but I'm trying to gain weight, I'm gonna start feeling full at the 20-minute mark, and I'm gonna have another 20 minutes to basically torture myself into eating more calories. So what you need to do is basically, if you're looking to minimize hunger and you want to be more full, what you need to do is start eating more slowly. You need to start taking 20-25 minutes at least to finish your meal. Around 25 minutes is okay if you're on a cutting phase and you're trying to lose weight and you're trying to keep hunger away. On the other hand, if you're trying to build muscle, then try to eat quicker. That's going to help you not feel as full as quickly. And so what that means is that it doesn't mean not to chew your food, okay? What it means is just try to do it faster, so that by the time you start feeling full, you've gotten the majority of calories in, okay? So that's a major way to manage hunger and satiety. Another major way is focusing on solid foods if you're trying to basically be more satiated. Why? Because liquid foods and liquid calories like milk and soft drinks, they contain calories, but they're very quick to digest, and that means that they're not very satiating. On the other hand, solid foods are slower to digest and they're more satiating. So if you're trying to lose weight, make sure to eat a majority of your diet should be solid foods. And in fact, if you're cutting, usually you don't want to have liquid calories. So on the other hand, if you're trying to bulk up, then make sure to have a lot of liquid calories, and that way you're gonna have, like, you could have a big shake that has like 800 calories in it, and 2 hours later you're like hungry for your next meal, because that shake just digests that much quicker. Another way to keep hunger away when you're on a diet is to have a protein-rich diet. There are a lot of reasons why you want to have a protein-rich diet. Another one is because protein is the building block of muscle, and so you want to have at least 0.8 grams per pound of body weight per day, or that is 1.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight a day. Okay, and if you have that much, you're gonna have a protein-rich diet. You're gonna be getting enough protein to maximize muscle growth, but you're also gonna be having enough protein to basically optimize your diet and macronutrient intake in a way that helps you push hunger away and be able to like maintain your diet without too much hunger and like torture. Now, the fourth way to actually manage hunger and fullness is to strategically pick the foods that you're going to be eating according to how much calories they contain per gram. So this means calorie dense foods versus not so calorie dense foods. For example, if I'm trying to lose weight, I could like pick to eat rice, like 100 grams of boiled white rice contain around 130 calories. But 100 grams, meaning the same quantity of broccoli, contain like 37 calories, which is like 70% less calories basically for the same quantity. Now here's the interesting fact. Your stomach has stretch receptors, and when they feel a stretch, what they do is they release another satiety hormone. And so you want to be, if you want to basically be more full on a diet, then make sure to pick foods that are not that calorie dense. Okay, and on the other hand, if you're trying to build muscle and you're trying to pack on more calories into your diet to be able to pack on mass and gain weight, then what you need to do is pick foods that are higher in calories per gram. So now that you know the principle of hunger and fullness management and how you can manage your hunger and fullness, being too hungry to basically stay consistent with your diet isn't a problem anymore, or being too full and not being able to get enough calories isn't a problem anymore. So see, these principles really make everything make sense, and they give you the solutions to the problems that you might have had in the past. Okay. Now, on the training side, a lot of what I see in terms of people screwing up with these principles has to do with the principle of overload. So what is the principle of overload? Well, think about this. How do you make a muscle grow? You will basically give it a stimulus to adapt to. You go to the gym, you train, that gives it a stimulus to adapt to, and it grows basically if you gave it a big enough stimulus. The thing is, the next time you go to the gym or with time, you cannot give it the same stimulus because it's already adapted to that stimulus. You need to give it a bigger stimulus. And that is the principle of progressive overload. You need to supply your muscles and your musculoskeletal system with a bigger and bigger stimulus to adapt to, so that you can see continual progression in your hypertrophy and your muscle growth and your performance as well. And so when it comes to basically developing a leaner, more athletic physique, as we said, one of the things we need to do is build muscle. So we call that hypertrophy. Hypertrophy means muscle growth. And so in hypertrophy style training, that has the goal of muscle growth, what people don't understand is that yes, intensity, meaning the bar or the weight on the bar that you lift, is important, but another thing that needs to be overloaded is your training volume, and your training volume over the mesocycle. Now we have a couple of new terms that we need to cover right now. First off, a mesocycle, very quickly, I'm not gonna give you a super scientific definition. A mesocycle, think of it as 3 to 5 weeks of training when where you're progressively overloading your muscles. This means that we also call it an accumulation phase. What is intensity? Absolute intensity is basically the weight that we put on the bar, basically the resistance. Relative intensity is the resistance relative to our 1 repetition maximum. So think about this. If you can lift on the bench press, if you can do 1 repetition with 100 kilos, or that is 220 pounds, then that is your 1 repetition maximum. You cannot do 2 with that weight, you can only do 1. We call that your 1 RM, or 1 repetition maximum. Now, studies have shown that in order to elicit muscle growth, you need to be training at least around 60 and 70% of your 1 repetition maximum, up to 85%, by the way. Between 70 and 85% is the sweet spot for muscle growth. So that's the intensity you want to work with. With that intensity, usually you're gonna be training with between 6 and 15 reps. So that's your rep range, if you want to think of it like that. Now, the last definition that we need to give is of training volume. What is training volume? For convenience sake, we don't use the super scientific formula. What we use in the gym and what is much more practical is we use the number of sets per muscle group per week. So if I do 3 sets of bench pressing, and that's the only exercise that I do for my chest, and I do that on Mondays, on Wednesdays, and on Fridays, then I'm doing 9 sets for chest per week, okay? And that is my training volume. And what people need to understand is that you need to be periodizing and overloading your training volume, because volume is the most important factor for muscle growth. That's what studies show. As long as you're above that 60% and like below 90-85% of relative intensity, training volume is what you need to be focusing on overloading, not so much relative intensity. That too, but not to such an extent. Your focus should be on training volume. Now, related to training volume, we have 2 concepts that you need to know and understand. And I believe these were coined by Dr. Mike Israetel, and they are minimum effective volume and maximum recoverable volume. So minimum effective volume is the minimum training volume that you can be doing that's actually gonna elicit actual muscle growth. If you go below that, so let's say it's very individual, by the way. So let's say for you, 9 sets per week for chest is your minimum effective volume. Anything below that, if you do 8 sets per week, that's not going to help you grow. That's going to maintain your current muscle mass, but it's not going to add additional growth, okay? And the other concept is maximum recoverable volume. That's the maximum volume that you could be doing and be recovering like a sort of mid-term, not super short term. Like if you go above that, you could recover short term, but if you do that for a couple weeks, you're gonna burn down and start having injuries and so on, okay? Your training should mostly happen between your minimum effective volume and your maximum recoverable volume. And then on the last week, you can go beyond your maximum recoverable volume, because after that you're gonna do what we call a deload phase. And here's where the next and final principle comes in, which is the principle of fatigue management. This is the final principle that we're going to talk about in this video. Now, why do we care about fatigue? Well, what happens, as I said, within your mesocycle, which is just the 3 to 5 weeks of your training in which you're accumulating like the overload, what you're also accumulating is fatigue. Your fatigue is rising. Your body isn't handling all of it. Like you're recovering, mainly your muscles are recovering because they heal a lot quicker, but different factors like your glycogen levels, tissue damage like chemical messengers, your nervous system. All of these things are accumulating fatigue. At certain point, what's going to happen is you're going to be so fatigued that you cannot physically do an actual meaningful overload. Like in week 5 of your mesocycle, you're basically so gassed out that if you did another week, you wouldn't be able to pass your performance. Your fatigue is too high, and so it's capping basically your performance. And so what you need to do at that point is a deload phase in order to manage that fatigue. A deload phase basically means that for the next week, what we're gonna do is we're gonna reduce our training volume and our training intensity, and that is gonna give our body basically a breath of fresh air, a moment to recover. And after that week of recovery, we're gonna do another mesocycle of 3 to 5 weeks of accumulation phase. Here's another important thing. You need to be very wary of fatigue. Why? Because one of the major mistakes that people make is training at failure, at concentric muscle failure all the time. What does that mean? Muscle failure, concentric muscle failure, or training to failure means if I can do 10 reps on the bench press, I cannot do 11. And when I go there the first week, I go all the way and do 10 reps. That's a very bad idea. Why? Because it is very fatiguing. It's disproportionately fatiguing to the results that you're getting. So what does that mean? Let's say I can do 10 reps with a certain weight. Let's say with 100 kilograms, I can do 10 reps. And the very first week of my mesocycle, I go in and I do those 10 reps. Since failure training or training to failure is so fatiguing, what's going to happen is the next week I have nowhere to go, and so I'll max out. Basically by the first week I'll gas out and I won't be able to produce a meaningful overload the next week, and I'm going to have to deload on week number 2. That is stupid. You don't do that. What you do instead is you utilize a concept we call reps in reserve, or RIR. It's basically an indicator of how far you are from a muscle failure. So let's say I can do like 12 reps with 100 kilograms, but what I'm gonna do the first week is I'm gonna train at 3 reps RIR, 3 reps in reserve, meaning I could do 12 reps, but I'm gonna take myself up to 9 reps and I'm gonna stop the set at 9 reps and I'm gonna leave 3 in reserve. Now, what I'm going to do the next week when I'm doing the bench press again is I'm going to this time stop 2 reps shy of failure, and of course I might gain some strength. I'm gonna try to like gauge it depending on how I feel, and I'm gonna stop 2 reps shy of failure. The next week I'm gonna stop 1 rep shy of failure, and the next week, on the week number 4, when my mesocycle is ending, I'm gonna go all the way to failure, because I'm gonna get all gassed out. Like I'm gonna not be able to do another week of overloading, but I'm gonna deload anyway the next week. Like let's say that's how I've programmed my training program. And so what happens is first week I'm 3 reps shy of failure, second week I'm 2 reps shy of failure, third week I'm 1 rep shy of failure, the fourth week I take my sets to failure, and then on the week number 5 I do a deload week where I let my body, like I reduce volume, I reduce intensity, I let my body recover, and now I've had 4 productive weeks of training. And this way you're gonna get so much more so much more results than if you just try to max out on the first week. So we call this fatigue management. It's very important, and any good program takes this principle into account. These are basically the 4 principles, 2 regarding nutrition and 2 regarding training, that most people screw up. Of course, there are, as I said, around 11 principles in total in principle-based training and nutrition, and hopefully you're seeing that they all work together. Like as I said earlier, training and nutrition, they're 2 sides of the same coin, and all of these 11 principles are enmeshed and they work together. You need to understand all of them in order to basically craft a training program for a certain individual. As I said, one of the principles is individualization, because we are all different and we need an individual approach. And so you need to understand all of these principles in order to get the most out of your training program. The thing is, it might seem a bit complicated, but what you need to realize is that you are gonna put those 3 or 4 hours in the gym, or 5 hours, how many hours you yourself have to put in the gym. And so if you're gonna go to the gym, let's say for an hour 4 times a week, then why not get the most out of it? Like, it doesn't make sense if you could like put in 4 hours and get build like 2 pounds of muscle, or put in the same 4 hours but build 4 pounds of muscle. Why would you pick 2? There's no reason, you know. And so one of the things you need to do is basically study these principles and start applying them for yourself and in your own training nutrition. Now, another way to do that is find a smart coach who can actually do this for you. Like, a good coach knows these principles, can apply them, can apply principle-based training and nutrition, and that way they can design your program and training and nutrition plan for you, and all you need to do is basically execute it and get the best results humanly achievable in the shortest and surest amount of time possible. And that's exactly what I do for my clients in my coaching program. I give them a questionnaire, they fill out the questionnaire, and I craft their training and nutrition plans and coach them along the way, so that they don't have to like go too deep into this stuff, and they can just follow the plan and get the best results possible. Now, if you're interested in getting coaching from me, I would love to have you, but the spots are limited, so you need to keep that in mind. I only have 24 hours in a day. So anyway, if you want to learn about my coaching program, I suggest you act now and you click the button or the link below this video, and there you will find more information on that. Thanks so much for watching.